Welcome to my channel, and I'm back with you once again with another video of Microsoft Flight Simulator 24. In the series of videos that I'm doing for the iniBuilds Airbus A350, this is going to be another one, which is a complete tutorial of the iniBuilds Airbus A350. Before this, I've uploaded videos in which I've shown you how to carry out the maintenance of this plane and how to configure the EFB and the FMS. I will also be uploading videos in which I will show you how to perform takeoff and how to fly this plane on autopilot and how to perform an ILS approach and landing. This is a very nice study level plane and it's got many functionalities, so that's why I'm just trying to break down all the information into different videos which will make it easy for you to look for a specific information on my channel. Today I will be doing this short flight from Riyadh to Qatar and the plane is ready for the flight. But before you start this plane from the cold and dark stage, just make sure that the thrust levers are in the idle position, the flaps are retracted and the ground spoilers are also disarmed. The gear lever is down and the wipers are off. Now, I will not cover the flight planning part in this video and I will not go into the details of the EFB configuration and the FMS configuration because I've already covered, and I will give you the link in the description. You can just go and follow that if you're not really familiar with that process. So before we start, just press Shift 4 and press Shift S to go back. Over here you'll see this knob. Just turn this knob to check the voltage of the batteries. It should be minimum 25.5. So if I press Shift 4 again, I will be back. So the batteries have the power, so I can just move this knob over here to off. And now it's time to turn on the batteries. You will see these 4 buttons for the batteries. So just to explain it to you, a plane has got different sources of power. Obviously batteries are there, but once the plane is on the ground and is at the parking, it gets power from the external source. Or you can also call it the GPU, which is the ground power unit. And once the plane is ready for the flight and starts the pushback, it turns on the APU, which is the auxiliary power unit, which is over here. And after the pushback, the engines start. And then the power is generated by the engines. And you turn off the APU. So this is the procedure if you're not really familiar with it. So let's turn on the batteries, and first of all turn on external 2, power 2 and external power 1. And now you will see the plane has the power, all the screens are working. This is the electronic flight bag or the EFB, and this is the screen where you will see the primary flight display and the navigation display, and this is the multifunction display. You will see the FMS over here. Now the displays are up and you can see nothing is shown over here except for the lines. No other information is being shown because you don't have the IRS alignment, which is inertial reference system. You have to turn it on. So if you go over here on the overhead panel, you will see these 3 knobs, and you can see this label ADIRS, which is Air Data Inertial Reference System. This system actually provides the GPS coordinates to the flight management guidance system, and it has to be set to nav. So 1, 3 and 2, just set it to nav and your plane will have the GPS coordinates, and now you will see the PFD and navigation display showing some information. You can set the time for this IRS alignment from the EFB, and if you go to the options, you will see over here in IRS align time, you can set it to instant, fast and real. If you set it to real, it will take 6 to 7 minutes. That's it. So starting this plane is not that difficult. It's really easy to do it. So once you'll watch this video, you will be able to do it in just no time. So it's now time to do some ground services and get the flight plan. If you go to the EFB, you will see this option ground. Now you can also connect the air conditioning unit. This is a very interesting feature over here. If I turn on conditioning, you will see that it's a bit hot over here in the cockpit. So you can connect the ACU, and that's it. And the temperature will start to drop. So this is a very interesting feature of this plane, and I really like it. Okay. Now you can also connect the jetway, and you can get the luggage and the catering. Now you can see that ground services are being carried out, and the jetway is getting connected. That's it. So now it's time to get the flight plan. I have already made the flight plan in the sim brief. I have this, if I press tab, let me just show you from here. I have this sim brief dispatch system in the EFB of the Microsoft Flight Simulator. There is a process to install it. I will also give you this link in the description, and you can just go and follow it if you don't know how to do it. So I've already made the flight plan, and now I can import the sim brief flight plan. But don't go to this option. If you want to make a flight plan from the start, then you can use this interface. Otherwise, leave this part and just go to the second option, and from here you can import the flight plan. Now it's from Riyadh to Qatar, and now if you go to this option load sheet, you can get the weight and the fuel from sim brief flight plan, and you can set the zero fuel weight. This is actually the weight of the passengers and the cargo. That's it. You can see the details over here, and for the passengers and for the cargo, and the fuel is 18 tons or 18,115 kilograms. So you can select realistic refueling or instant refuel. So I'm selecting instant refuel. And now if you see that the fuel is there, 18.1 tons, and that's it. So you have the correct amount of fuel in the plane. Now let's quickly configure the FMS, because we need it for the flight. So over here, go to this option initialization, and you can just like start the initialization. Actually, there are many other things that you can do. I'm just only trying to stick to the basics, which will make your life really easy. You can do a flight, and then afterwards we can explore other stuff as well once we know how to start this plane and configure the EFB and the FMS. So let's insert the flight plan. And now you can see the cruising altitude is there. Mode is economy. If you're going long range, then you can also select LRC, in which cost index is not required, and the plane will burn less fuel, but its range will increase. So I'm just right now keeping it at economy, and the cost index is 200, burning lots of fuel, but the plane will be going at a higher speed. This is automatically selected by SimBrief. Now let's configure the FMS as per this sequence. So for departure, let's check the runway. If you go to the operational flight plan, and if you go to this option routing, you will see it's 33 right. I'll type 1D. So 33 right. I'll type 1D. And temporary flight plan, insert temporary flight plan, and for OTHH, it's runway 16 left, Haya 1P. So 16 left, and via. That's it. And let's insert and temporary insert. Actually, I've covered this part in the video in which I've shown you how to configure the EFB and the FMS of this plane. So everything is being discussed in detail over there. But obviously, for the takeoff video, and which is going to be the second one, and for the ILS approach and landing, then I will also consult the set and the star, and I will also give you a few details over there. But right now, the focus is just to start this plane from the cold and dark state. So now let's delete this manual flight plan, because if you want to delete the discontinuity, you won't be able to do it. So you have to delete manual first and then discontinuity. If you're flying any of the Airbus planes, this is what you have to do. Again, it's there. Let's delete it. Temporary insert, and that's it. Let's check the flight plan if it's correct. And it is. The approach is correct, because there's always a discontinuity as this approach is flown using the vectors or the heading given by the ATC. Now it's time for the fuel and for the load. As the fueling is now complete and there are passengers in the plane, you can also turn on the seatbelt signs. As you can see, these seatbelt signs are over here. So let's turn it on. You can also set it to auto, but for this video, I will just turn it on. A no smoking sign, and just set it to auto. No mobile, just set it to auto, and just arm the emergency exit lights, and that's it. Now let's enter the zero fuel weight and zero fuel weight center of gravity and block fuel. It's really easy. Just click over here on this box and press enter, enter, and enter, and that's it. And passengers 367. If you go to the load sheet, you will see 369. Okay, so I will enter 369 over here. That's it. Oh, close, and let's go to the initialization page again, and let's set the takeoff performance. So for takeoff performance, you have this tab. Just sync FMS and sync the weather and compute and send to FMS. That's it. Now you can confirm the takeoff speeds. Flex to temp is there, and this is the setting for the trimmable horizontal stabilizer, whether to pitch up or down and how much to pitch up and down during the takeoff. So this is determined by the gross weight center of gravity, not the zero fuel weight center of gravity. So this is 30.8%. Packs will be on, anti-ice will be off, as I'm not flying in the icing conditions. Transition altitude is 13,000 feet, and that's it. So the FMS is now properly configured. Now let's set the barometric pressure for this flight. Adjust the altimeter. So if you don't want to move the knobs, it's really simple to do in Microsoft Flight Simulator 24. Just press COM on your keyboard and you will get the reading for the barometric pressure, which is 1004. Cruising altitude is 29,000 feet. So let's adjust the altitude over here as well. 29,000 feet. That's it. Now in this plane, you have the checklist, which you can get on this screen. If you go to this option, checklist, actually I keep the flight plan over here and checklist on this side. Otherwise, you can also get the checklist over here. That's it. So first of all, let's check the cockpit preparation, gear pins and covers. Covers have been removed. I did it. And the gear pins, you can see they're over here. So let me just show you. So there should be 5 pins, and they're removed. They're actually used for the maintenance, but before the flight, you just make sure that you have removed the pins. Okay, and if I press shift space, I'll just go back to this view. So this is really something I discovered about this plane. You can see the gear pins. The fuel quantity is there, so you can just check it. I've turned on the seatbelt signs and baroref. I have set the altimeter. Now let's go back to checklist and before the start. So you have to release the parking brakes. Obviously, I will be going for this pushback, so I have to release the parking brakes and rest of the things. Takeoff speed has been inserted. Slides are armed. Now, rest of the things, let's do it. So first of all, just go over here on the overhead panel and just make sure that the oxygen supply for the crew is on. That's it. If I turn off this option, you will see that the oxygen pressure is there. So you can just turn on the crew supply and you will see the error has disappeared. That's it. Now these are the controls for the fuel pumps. So left, center, and right. Let's turn on the fuel pumps, and that's it. Now for this flight, you need beacon. So let's turn on the beacon. It's actually a red blinking light on the top and on the bottom of the plane. If you can see right now. It's actually very bright. What if I change the time? Yeah, now you can see this red light is blinking. It actually indicates the ground crew that you're going to start the engines. That's it. Let's change the time to 8 in the morning. Actually, right now it's evening, so that's why I have used not use their lifetime. Okay, so nav light is also on, and nav lights are actually on the wingtips. If I again change the time, and let me give you an idea. Now you can see this is a green light. So if any plane sees a green light, especially in the night, it knows that this plane is going toward its right side. And if some plane sees the red light, it means it's going toward this left side. So that's it. Let me just adjust the time again. So you have to turn this on. The nav lights have to be on. And this is strobe. This is actually a white blinking light. Blinking, that was a good one. So it's set to auto. As soon as the plane takes off from the runway, it's on. And once it lands, it turns off. Otherwise, if you want to just turn it on, then you can do it. But not once the plane is parked or taxiing. And logo, you can turn it on or keep it at auto. And that's it. These are the lights for the taxi and for the landing. So I will just keep them like this right now. So everything is good now. So this is basically the FCU, and which is the flight control unit. I have adjusted the altitude over here. Now you can see that the flight director is on. If I turn off the flight director, you will see the speed is being shown over here and the heading. This plane actually has got two modes. One is the manage mode, another one is the selected mode. Right now, the plane is in the selected mode. So if I fly this plane on autopilot, if I turn on the autopilot after the takeoff, whatever the speed I will mention over here, like moving this knob or the heading, the plane will actually fly according to that heading and speed. But if you select the manage mode, in which you see the FCU like this, then in the flight plan, if I just go to the flight plan, you will see that there are speeds and altitudes mentioned over here, and plus the heading, obviously, the navigation. So the autopilot actually flies according to these constraints and everything. So that's why don't forget to turn on the flight director and keep the plane in the manage mode. Anyhow, this is a topic for the autopilot, but just to let you know right now. So make sure that the flight director is also on, and we have also configured the EFS, which is electronic flight instrument system. Now we have to disconnect the external power, as the plane is on the external power, and obviously you cannot fly with the GPU. So let's first of all turn on the APU. You cannot disconnect the external power right now, but it's set to auto. So right now the plane is getting power from the GPU, and once the APU is there, which is auxiliary power unit, and the plane will get the power from there. So this is the master switch for the APU. Just turn it on and turn on the APU, or start the APU, and that's it. Now you will see this information over here, which is the EGT is the exhaust gas temperature. This is the rotation, and once you have power from the APU, you will see APU available. This screen is known as the ECAM, which is Electronic Centralized Aircraft Monitor. And you get the alerts and the warnings over here, and plus the power from the engines and the rest of the things. During the flight, it will keep on changing. And plus you can also like scroll through different things like engine, door, wheel, fuel, and so on and so forth, flight control and stuff like this. So now you can see that the exhaust gas temperature is rising, which means that the APU will not be available. And now as I will be starting the pushback, so ground services are no longer required. I can disconnect the jetway. It's connected. No, it's disconnected. Yeah, it's already disconnected, but the door is open. Somebody can fall. So I can close the door. Just make sure that the doors are closed. You can, open and close the doors from here as well, like this. Now this door is closed. That's it. And the APU is now available. As you can see that it will say avail over here. Now this is the button for the APU bleed. This is actually a compressed air which is required to start the engine. So turn on the APU bleed, as you will be requiring this APU bleed to start the engines. And no need to turn off the external power. It's already cut off. Now you can see external is available, but you are getting the power from the APU. So I can disconnect the GPU, and now you can see that external has disappeared and you're getting power from the GPU. That's it. Let's remove the chocks for this plane. You cannot remove the chocks once you're outside the cockpit. You have to do it from here. Just only the covers and chocks you have to remove from this screen. That's it. And let's also disconnect the air conditioning. We don't need it. By the way, what's the temperature right now in the cabin and the cockpit? Let's check. Yeah, that's good. You can also set the temperature of the cockpit and the cabin from here. So let's say if you want to, adjust the temperature, you can move these knobs. Now you can see the temperature has dropped. It's really cold. So let's keep it in the center. Actually, in Riyadh, this thing, it's in the middle of the desert. It's like 45, 46 degrees, and it gets very hot. Okay. So everything is good now. And you have the APU available and everything is there. Just make sure that no light is on. All the buttons should be black, because this is the beauty of the Airbus planes. Only you can see fault on the generators for the engine, because engines are not running right now. But once the engines will be running, then this fault will also disappear. That's it. Now the plane has its own power and everything is now complete. I can remove the parking brake, and plus for the pushback, obviously the nose wheel will be disconnected, and I can just check this. Now let's release the parking brakes. And let's start the pushback. You can also get the airport navigation over here. This is known as the ANF in this plane, which is the airport navigation function. You can see the complete chart over here on this navigation display. It only works if you've got Navigraph subscription. So in the settings over here on the AFB, you can if you don't know how to do it, then you can go to this option menu and options, and then you can go to this third party, and then you will see a QR code over here. You can just scan it with your mobile or open it in browser, and then you can log into your Navigraph account. Then you will be able to see the airport chart over here for the taxi. So as the takeoff runway is there, as you can see, this is 3-3 right, so I will be turning in this side, right. That's it. Oh. That's it. Now I have set the parking brakes to off. So this is the ground, and the pushback feature is here, so you can just call for the tug and the pushback will start. I'm not using any third-party tool for the ground services or for the pushback. I think there is some issue with the Microsoft Flight Simulator. The moment pushback starts, it starts to turn towards the left. So I have to keep on pressing this so that the plane doesn't turn left. I don't know, since the beginning it's there. It's not getting fixed. So let's see where the tug is. Oh, it's getting connected. And the pushback has started. Although I have a GSX Pro for this simulator, but right now I'm not using it for this video, because I will be making a separate video in which I will show you how to carry out the ground services with this plane with the GSX Pro, because it has a compatibility with the EFB. So it's really awesome. I think this is a good pushback. I will be just right on this line. That was a good call. Yeah, that was good. Okay. So, no, I think slightly off, but still, I made it. So, let's stop the pushback and let's apply the parking brakes. And that's it. Now it's time to turn on the engines. So, you can see the control over here. And this is the engine start switch. You have to move it to ignition. So, you can just like move the mouse wheel for this, or left click once you see this right arrow. So just move it like this. That's it. And now you can start the engines. That's it. So I can just turn off this option, because you know the systems of this plane are very clever. They automatically start to show you different information over here on this screen, whatever the phase of the flight you're in right now. So it just keeps on switching. This is something really clever. Now there's another thing that I just want to show you. This plane has the heads-up display. In the latest few updates, iniBuilds have provided the heads-up display. So you can turn on the heads-up display from here. If you go to the options in the AFB, and if you go to this option equipment, you will see heads-up display. So I've turned it on, and you can just now lower the heads-up display. Click this lever and the heads-up display will be down. You can remove the covers. Yeah, I know I'm having this transponder error. I will just fix it right now. You can see this transponder error is there. This is what I'm going to show you right now. So you can also interact with this screen over here. You see this control over here. You can scroll, and plus you can also check it. That's it. So this is something I just wanted to show you. If you go over here, you will see this option surveillance, or SURV, serve. Now from here you can turn on the weather radar. You turn on the weather radar after the pushback, and plus you don't turn on the transponder once the plane is at the parking, because then you know the ATC's radars will get cluttered a lot. So you can just turn it on right now. You can see that the altitude reporting is also on, and this is TCAS, which is a traffic collision and avoidance system. This is set to TARA, which is traffic advisory and resolution advisory. That's it. So everything is now good. You can turn off the APU because it's no longer required. You have got the powers from the engine, and you can turn off the APU bleed, and this will show avail for some time available, and then it will disappear. Now, oh, see, it disappeared. So now for the taxi, you can set this light to taxi, and you can turn on the wing lights. Now you can see that a fault has disappeared from these buttons, generator for the engines, as now the engines are up and running, and you have the power from the engines. That's it. Now for the heads-up display, you can adjust the view, as now you can see it's not really good. So what you can do is this: you can use Shift D, A, W and S to adjust the view. And if you just want to move upward and downwards, you can use Q and E, and just adjust the view, and that's it. So you have all the information over here. You have the speed, the altitude, plus you'll get the vertical speed over here. This is the flight mode annunciator, which is FMA, and plus you will also see the flight director, and plus your flight path vector, which will show you where to go. So this is good. Now you can see that the plane is up and running. Just move this switch back to normal. That's it. Now it's at normal. Now you can see that as I told you before, the plane knows what kind of state it is in, and now it knows that I'm ready for the takeoff. So for the takeoff, you know, you have to make the cabin ready for this flight, and ground spoilers armed. So if you go over here again, back to the checklist, and after the start checklist, so anti-ice is not required. Flight controls, let's do this check. So if you press this button, flight control, you will see the screen. Now if you push your stick forward, you can check the elevators over here. That's it. And left and right for ailerons, used for turning. And you can also check the rudder. It's working. That's it. So you have now carried out the flight control check, and just also make sure that your trim for the takeoff is set. Now you can see that required was 30.8, and takeoff for trimmable horizontal stabilizer, it's set to 30.8, and the parking brake is active. You get this indication over here as well. And ground clearance, as I'm not using ATC or anything, so you can just check it. That's it. And go back to checklist, and for the taxi, now you have to set the flaps. Now you can see flap settings, so set the flaps to position 1, as the required flaps for takeoff is 1 plus F. You can see it's set to 1 plus F. And just arm the ground spoilers in case of rejected takeoff. You need these ground spoilers. So, and let's turn on the radar. So over here on, you can select the constraints. You can see the speed and altitude constraints on the navigation display, and plus you can turn this button on for the traffic and for the weather. And maybe on this screen you can set terrain. So weather over here and terrain over there. Although there are no clouds, but still, let's turn on the weather. It's really dry nowadays over here. And this is your auto brake in case of rejected takeoff. So just turn it on, and that's it. So radar is on, and after some time, once the cabin is ready, this will also turn green, and then I can press this button, takeoff config, to basically check this option. Now everything is good. Now you can see that over here the parking brake is on, and you have the traffic on, and plus the weather and predictive wind shear is on. Nothing else. So in case your APU, if APU is running, you will see this message over here, or if this switch is set to ignition, you will see this option over here. So just keep an eye over here on this eCam, and your flight will be a good flight. And the plane is up and running, and it's ready for the flight. You can see that the takeoff configuration is normal, and everything is looking good so far. Before the taxi, I would just like to tell you one more thing. I remember in the early days of the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, this was something really new in the iniBuilds planes, and this is this setting, the rudder controls a tiller. So actually this is the tiller which turns the nose wheel during the taxi, and you can just turn left and right and navigate your way through the taxiways. So this tiller is actually controlled by the rudder if you set it to yes. So I'm using the Thrustmaster Airbus edition, the A321 side stick. So the rudder is there on this controller. So I always keep it at yes, because then I can move the nose wheel, because I'm not using any separate controller for the tiller. And auto tiller disconnect, this is for the takeoff. So once you are on the runway, the tiller is disconnected, and then you can just control the rudder. So this is one thing. So remember this thing to turn these two options on, so that you can carry out the the taxi. So everything is good now, and let's release the parking brakes. That's it. This is the parking brake, and let's give some power to the engines and take this plane to the runway. Now I'm near the runway 33 right and ready for the takeoff. So before the takeoff, I would just like to tell you a few things. Let me just turn. So I can hold short of the runway, because this is the point where you get the clearance for the departure. So as I'm not using ATC right now, so I'm not doing that. But I will upload another video in which I will go through the radio communication basics of this plane using beyond ATC. So I will demonstrate that in that video. So for this takeoff, what I'm going to do is this. First of all, let's change the view, because right now the chart is not required. So let's get back to this view. Now you will see all the speed and the altitude constraints over here on this screen in the navigation display. Number one. Number two, for the takeoff, I will first of all set the thrust to 50%. Once the engines will spool up, then I will move the thrust lever to this option, flex to temp. This is actually de-accelerated takeoff with only 83.7% of power to put less stress on the engines. I'm not taking off with full throttle. And I will just push this side stick forward for the takeoff. As you can see, this plus sign over here, it's moving. So after 100 knots, I will just release the pressure and on the stick, and then I will just move it here in this position. And at this speed VR, I will just pick this plane up in the air by just 10 degrees. Don't try to go more than this, between 10 to 15 degrees, but then there is a chance of a tail strike. So just slowly pick up this plane up in the air. Okay, that's good. Now there is another thing that you have to do before the takeoff is go through the checklist. So for the lineup, yeah, the cabin is secured and takeoff runway is there. Packs are on, and the checklist is complete. You can see the packs are on. Okay. Now these two buttons are for the air conditioning, pack 1 and pack 2 on. That's it. So let's release the brakes and take this plane up in the air. Everything is in the manage mode. As you can see, no reading is over here for the speed and for the heading, and plus the climb is also in the manage mode. So right after the takeoff, then I will take you through all the modes of the autopilot for this plane. So here I am on the runway, and let's push the side stick a bit, and let's give 50% of power. And now flex and 100 knots. Now I can release the side stick. This is the V1 speed and this is the VR.
V1.
And now rotate. Let's see. That's it. And now positive rate of climb, gears up. Now you can see this is the vertical speed. You have to adjust the vertical speed in such a way that your speed reduces, because this is the target speed. So you can have a high climb rate during the takeoff. And now I can just reduce this vertical speed. As you can see, the speed was dropping a lot. I can also turn on the autopilot right now. You can see the auto throttle is now active, automatically activated. Now you can see that I've crossed this altitude for the thrust reduction. So move the thrust levers to climb to this position, and that's it. Now the thrust levers will remain in this position for the rest of the flight. And now you can see the target speed is 230 knots, and the plane will actually adjust the vertical speed in such a way that the speed keeps on increasing, and at 230 knots again, it will start to climb. Now there is this altitude constraint as well. At this point, the plane should be above 5,000 feet. So I can now retract the flaps, as the speed was more than this speed. You can see this S was there. So above this speed, you have to retract the flaps. And plus, this is the green dot speed. The plane can fly without any slats and flaps after the speed. Great. Flaps actually provide lift during the takeoff, but they also provide drag. So that's why you have to retract the flaps, and you take off with optimum settings for the flaps. Now there will be some constraints as the plane is in the manage mode. As you can see, this climb option is there. So if I bring my cursor over here, and if I click this this button, once I see the down arrow, then the plane will be in open climb. Now what will happen is this, that in this scenario, the plane will keep on climbing, and it will not follow any of the altitude constraints during the climb. So it will stop following any constraints. So that's why always climb in the manage mode initially, and once you are used to the simulator and you are flying with the ATC, maybe at times you have to go with an open climb, you don't want to follow the restrictions, then you can just like do it in the open climb. So right now you can see that the plane is adjusting its vertical speed to maintain the given speed as per the flight plan. Now there is this option of vertical speed. If I click this, now the vertical speed will become the priority. So now I can change this vertical speed. As you can see now, this mode over here in the FMA, if you look at this option, you will see that the vertical speed is 1700 feet per minute. So this is the climb rate. Now if I go with a very aggressive climb rate, you will see that the speed will reduce, because right now climb rate is the priority. So always climb with this mode, the open mode or the manage mode. No need to use the vertical speed. Now you can see I've taken it back to the manage mode. Climb is there, and now the plane will adjust the vertical speed and the speed will increase, and now it will stabilize at this. Now the plane is also about to cross 10,000 feet, so you can turn off the lights. So let me just do it right now, just to shorten up the video. And seatbelt signs, I can just turn them off, and plus I can disarm the ground spoilers, no longer required. Now you have this option again, speed. Now you can adjust the speed. Remember this thing that below 10,000 feet the speed should not be more than 250 knots. So if, let's say, if you want to have a higher vertical speed, if you think that the vertical speed is not good enough, then you can reduce the speed. But don't go below the green dot speed. You can just like remain over here in this part. Now you can see that the speed is the priority right now, and the vertical speed is getting adjusted, because at a slower speed the plane can have a higher climb rate. So this is how you can manage the climb rate as well. So now the speed is back in the manage mode. Now for the heading, it's very interesting. You can click this once you see the up arrow, or once you see the down arrow, you can click it, and you can take this navigation mode out of the manage mode to the heading mode. If I just take it back again, if you see the up arrow again, you will see nav. Now it means the plane is in the nav mode, and it will follow the flight plan. And you can see this flight path is a solid line. So if I just take it back to this mode, you will see this dotted line. That's it. So now whatever the heading I will select over here, the plane will actually follow that. Now you can see it's turning left. And if I just change the heading over here, then it's turning right. Now then there is another issue which the beginners face, is the deviation from this flight path. Once you deviate from the flight path to a certain distance, then you won't be able to follow this flight plan again. So let me just demonstrate it to you. So I will take this plane into the heading mode, and I will turn left, and I will try to create a deviation from this flight plan, a huge deviation. As now you can see the deviation is 0.5 towards 0.5 nautical miles towards the left from the flight path. If I was going right, then it would have been 0.5 right. So now you can see this will keep on increasing, and at some point, if I try to follow this flight path, it will not be possible. So maybe you just try to explore things and you want to go back to the flight plan. So now the deviation is 1.4 nautical miles towards the left side from the flight plan. And if I just go back to the manage mode, now you will see that the heading mode is still active and nav is armed. So the plane is trying to go back to the flight plan, but it cannot. So for this, what you have to do is this: you have to intercept this line. It's not even turning. Now I've even crossed the transition altitude, so I can change the barometric pressure to the standard. So just bring your cursor over here, and once you see the up arrow, just change it to standard. I'm using the legacy settings for the mouse, so that's why I've just turned off everything. But you can just see. I think if you have not turned on the legacy settings, then you can even see the controls once you bring your cursor over here, how to interact with these switches and buttons and knobs. So now there is a deviation of 4.4 nautical miles from the flight plan towards the left side, and nav mode is armed. So in this case, when I will intercept this flight plan, this plane will automatically start to follow this flight plan. So let's change the heading, and let's you can see this point over here, this bug, the heading bug, and now I can intercept this flight plan, and let's see what happens. And now you can see that the nav mode is now active, as the plane was near this flight plan. So now it's out of the heading mode and it's back to the nav mode. So this what happens when you take this heading mode into the manage mode and set the heading after the deviation. So it will just start to follow the flight plan. Now there is another thing over here on your screens. You can see this arrow. This is the top of climb. So this is the point where the plane will be at 28,000 feet. Is it 28,000 or 29,000 feet for this flight? Let me just check again. If I go back to initialization, it's 29,000 feet. So let's adjust the altitude, 29,000. And that's it. So I'm not using actually step climb for this flight, and plus as I'm not doing it from with the ATC, so that's why I don't have instructions. So that's why I'm just straight away climbing up to 29,000 feet or flight level 290. But once I will make this video in which I will show you how to carry out the radio communications with this plane and how to fly this plane with the help of the ATC. And for that video I will use beyond ATC, because that's better than the one the Microsoft Flight Simulator has. So this is the point from where I will start the descent. As you can see, this white arrow is shown over here. Now let's configure this plane for the landing and for the approach. So on the FMS, you can just go to this option, performance, and you can see this option, approach. Now you have to enter the wind information and plus the outside temperature, the barometric pressure, and the minimums. So let's start filling this information. If you go to the operational flight plan, you can get the airport weather list, and you can get the weather for Qatar, OTHH, and it's there. Wind is 090 degrees and 09 knots. So let's enter 90 degrees, enter, and 9 knots, if I'm not wrong. Obviously it cannot be 90 knots. Let me just cross check. Yeah, because at time when you're editing, you know the mistake and you feel really bad about it. There have been times when even during editing I found errors, and then I had to record the video again. So I'm being careful. The outside temperature is 35 degrees centigrade, so let's enter 35 over here. Press enter, and the QNH is 9er9er6. Press enter. Now let's open every rough charts, and let's get the minimums for the landing. I will just explain it to you. What is this? And plus also check the transition altitude. So the runway for this flight is, if you go to the flight plan, you will get the runway. It's 16 left. So let's get back to performance and approach. That's it. So let's unload this flight plan and import the flight plan from SimBrief. Let me just reduce the size of this menu. I'll go back to the flight, and let's select the runway as well. Let's get its chart. So this plane is capable of carrying a Category 3 ILS Approach, so that's why this airport is also equipped with it, so we can just like pin this approach plate. Now if you look at first of all, if you look at the arrival, which is star, you will see that the transition altitude is or maybe we can just get it from the approach plate. Let me just show you how you read it from the approach plate. You can see transition altitude is 13,000 feet. It's there because it's good to read this approach plate. It's really interesting. So let's change it over here as well. 130. That's it. Now the minimums for the landing, you can see there are different categories, A, B, C, and D. And for Category 3, actually it's blank because you get it from the airline. So this is an altitude at which you hear this call out minimums. This is the point where you decide whether you will be going for the landing or not as per the RVR, which is the runway visual range. So if you can see the runway and the plane is properly aligned with the runway and it is going to touch down at the right point, then you proceed with the landing. Otherwise you call for a go around, or if the visibility is low, then you select the alternate airport. But right now today the weather is good, so we don't have to worry about that. And plus this A, B, C, and D, this is based on the speeds. So the higher the speed, obviously you want to make sure that you can see the runway at a slightly higher altitude. You can see if the speed is low, it's A, I think it's less than 90 knots, then it's 113 feet above the sea level. As per the barometric pressure, the runway is 13 feet above the sea level. So if you add 100 to it, it's 113 feet. So not 113 feet above the runway, the sea level, because we will be using the baro, not the radio. Radio is actually a method in which the plane sends the radio signals to the ground to get the altitude reading. So we will be using the barometric pressure. C is roughly between, I think, if I'm not wrong, this number is not top of my mind right now, but I think 140 to 160 knots. So let's set it to 130 as a precaution. Obviously, the plane will be going for a Category 3 landing, but as it's not there, so we can use the Category 2 minimums. Because you just have to be careful. So 130, slightly higher than the rest of the settings. And if you go for with the D, if you're coming at higher speed, then it's 147 feet. So you see this decision altitude and decision height. H is height. So height is as per the radio readings, 134, and decision altitude is as per the baro. So you add 13 feet to 134, and you get 147. That's it. It's really simple. Now this plane is configured for the approach, and you can see the landing will be with the full flaps, and the approach speed is 139 knots. And if you go with the config 3, which is this, then the speed will be different. It will be slightly higher. You can see 142 knots. So now I can again check one more thing over here. If you go to this option initialization, and you look at the nav aids, just make sure that the ILS frequency is there, and the heading, everything is there. Now identify as ID, you can see it's there, and the frequency is 108.7 for the ILS, 108.7, and the heading is 156 degrees. So I can even adjust it. If you just click over here, and if you type 156 plus enter, now you can see it's 156. This is the heading of the runway. Now if you look at this part of the approach plate, you will see that you should be at 2,500 feet at this point, Tovan, which is 14.6 nautical miles from the runway. D means distance. I will also now explain few things about the ILS, but before this we have to set the altitude for the descent, because top of descent is roughly, I think, less than 50 nautical miles. That's it. So this is how you will proceed, and just 7.8 nautical miles before the runway, the plane will follow the glide slope. And if you are performing an ILS approach and landing, there are two things. One is the localizer, you can also see the button over here, localizer, under the heading, which actually carries out the lateral alignment with the runway or the lateral navigation. Now this is the lateral navigation, whether the plane is following the flight plan or not, or going left or right. And this is the vertical navigation. That plane is going straight, then it will descend and stuff like this. And how much will be the descent angle, what will be the vertical speed during the descent. This is your vertical path. So glide slope determines the vertical path, and the localizer determines the lateral alignment. So you can turn on the localizer as well once you are near the approach, and the plane will start to follow this path, the flight path, runway, but it will not start the descent. For this you have to activate approach. So this button carries out the vertical navigation as well for the approach and your lateral navigation as well. That's it. And you can see this is a 3-degree slope towards the runway. So once I am here at this point, I will activate approach over here, and the plane will start to follow this glide slope. That's it. So rest of the things you can see the frequencies are there for the tower and for the approach and for the weather. And this is the missed approach procedure. That's it. I will also be making a video for the missed approach procedure. It's really good to read these approach plates. If you don't have a Navigraph subscription and you're just only using SimBrief for the flight planning and you want to access the charts, then you can use the Microsoft's flight simulators built-in charts. So if I go to the flight planner, let's say I've not entered the flight plan over here. As you can see, it's empty. So just simply type in the ICAO code for the airport, OTHH, and then you can see this information I is there. Just press this, and then you can just sorry, this one, the charts. You can then just get the charts. So it's runway 16 left. So you can look at the SID and rest of the information. And approaches 16 left. You can see the approach plate for ILS and RNP. So let's say if I click this, you will be able to see the LENOVO chart, not the Navigraph chart for this approach. It's the same. The information is the same. So you can even access the charts from here. That's it. So let's set the altitude over here to 2,500. This is the target altitude for the descent. And during the descent, the plane will automatically follow all the constraints, whatever is there. And you can change the units from here by this knob, the outer knob, the black one. Now the units are in 100, so 2,500, and that's it. Now once the plane is near this point, then I will just bring my mouse over here. When I see the up arrow, I just press it, and the descent will start. Then you will also see the vertical path deviation indicator on the PFD as well, and plus it will also show you the deviation over here if there is any. So you have to make sure that the plane is following the vertical path during the descent, although it's done by the autopilot, but still. So terrain is not required because Qatar doesn't have mountains. If you're landing in Oman, in Dubai as well, because the approach is from the Oman side, if you're using runway 30 right or left, then yes, you have to cross the mountains. That's it. So terrain is here, weather is here, and everything is good. It's better to start the descent before this point because you don't want to miss the top of descent. Otherwise, it will be really difficult to control the speed and the descent rate in order to follow the vertical path. As you can see, it's shown over here. The thrust will reduce and the descent will start then. And that's it. I think now we can just press it, and now you can see the thrust will reduce and the descent has started. So it's again the descent is in the manage mode, so descent is there. But if I press this, button. Once the arrow is down, then you will see open descent. So in open descent, the plane will not follow any constraint. So now the plane is in the descent mode, and now you have the first constraint, which is at flight level 80, which is 8,000 feet. Now this is the vertical path deviation indicator. So this should be over here in the middle. If it's over here, it means you are below the vertical path. And if it's over here, it means you're above the vertical path. If you're above the vertical path, then obviously you have to increase your vertical speed to descend. And once you increase the vertical speed, then it's really difficult to control the speed of the plane. So you just really have to keep an eye over here. Now you can see the speed is reducing. For the descent, the speed is 250 knots as per the flight plan. And now you can see the speed is reducing, and the plane is actually controlling the vertical speed so that, the speed reduces. But now you can see this dot has started to move below. If it starts to go over here, then you have to apply speed brakes in order to control this thing, this whole thing that's going on. If you think that the speed is not reducing and the plane is going to miss the vertical path, then you can apply the brakes. So let's try applying the speed brakes. Let's see what happens. Over here now you can see this set to full, and now you can see that vertical speed has increased and the speed is reducing, and you can see the speed brakes are active. That's it. And this dot is somewhere in the middle, not dropping. That's good. Now the speed is in control, so maybe I can just deactivate the speed brakes. That's it. And as the descent has started, you can turn on the seatbelt signs, and below 10,000 feet you can turn on the lights for the landing. These are the landing lights. You can turn on the wing lights and stuff like this. And plus you can also turn on the logo light if you want, but otherwise you can just keep it like this. So let's bring the flight plan, and let's go with the checklist over here. So for approach, now I will just keep this stuff over here because barrow reference, I will be changing it below 13,000 feet. Minimums I've set. Runway conditions, it's dry weather, not raining. So you can set the speed brakes, auto brakes, sorry, not the speed brakes, auto brakes. And once you bring your cursor over here on this knob and you see the up down arrow, you see this table over here, which is the setting for different weathers for the auto brakes. So if it's dry, then you select this option, otherwise wet and compacted snow and stuff like this. So let's select this setting for the dry. Now do this again once you see the up arrow, and that's it. And now you can activate auto brake, and you can see auto brake is automatically selected by the autopilot, which is medium. That's it. And that's it. So I will just keep it over here. So everything is good now. The plane is following the vertical path. The speed is under control and everything is good. We have entered the minimums for the landing. Let's now wait for the plane to cross the transition altitude and then go below 10,000 feet, and then I will just take you from there. Now the plane has crossed the transition altitude, so let's adjust the barometric pressure. Once you see the down arrow, just press it, and that's it. Yeah, and press comma on your keyboard to get the latest readings for the QNH, which is 9 or 9 or 7. So I think we have to change it over here. So let's go to this option, performance approach, and instead of 9 or 9 or 6, it's 9 or 9 or 7, and press enter, and that's it. Now this is also a very interesting indicator, which actually tells you that by this point the plane will be following the vertical path. Right now you can see there's a bit deviation. So just to let you know, because it just appeared, I wanted to show you. Now as you have adjusted the barometric pressure, you can check this item and check this complete. Now you can go to the checklist again, and for the landing you can keep it here, because you will lower the landing gears 6 nautical miles before the runway. But you can just arm the ground spoilers. That's it. Now the plane is below 10,000 feet. You can turn on the lights. The seat belt signs are already on, and that's it. And you can even turn on the logo light if you want. So you can see ground spoilers armed, seat belts on, and only the flaps and the landing gear. That's it. So 10 nautical miles before the runway, I will start extending the flaps. By 10 nautical miles, you can have flaps at position 1. By 8, you can have flaps by position 2. And then by 6 nautical miles, you can lower the gears, and then you can, afterwards, by 4 nautical miles, you can go with the full flaps. And this will be an auto land. So I will be turning on autopilot 2 after I activate approach over here. That's it. So let's press this button LS to get the ILS information over here. You can see the identifier is there, the frequency is there, and the distance. Although right now it's showing 13.6 nautical miles, but the plane will travel like this and then it will just go back. Then this distance will reduce, otherwise it will just keep increasing. So let's wait for some time, because I don't want to activate approach from here. Then the speed will reduce, because you also have to activate approach over here to get the approach speed. It will not automatically appear over here. You have to activate this option in order to reduce the speed. If right now, if I press this button activate approach, the approach speed will appear over here, and this plane's actual speed will not go below the green dot speed. For that I have to then extend the flaps. So I will not do it right now, because then the plane goes at a slow speed. So now I can activate approach, and let's reduce the speed of the plane. And now you will see that the green dot speed is over here below 200 knots, but the speed will not drop below this point. So once I'll start extending the flaps, then the speed will reduce. So now at this point the speed was actually 220 knots, so that's why the plane was stable at 220 knots. And now the speed is reducing. Even right now I can press this button approach, and now you can see that the localizer is armed. So as soon as the plane is aligned with the localizer, the nav mode will disappear and it will start to follow the localizer, because localizer is armed and nav is active. And similarly, as this option also, now you can see it has changed. And even as the descent is now right now in the manage mode, so that's why you can see descent over here. It is active, but glide slope is armed. And once this diamond is in the middle, then the plane will also start to follow the glide slope. Now I can also press this button, autopilot 2, and now you can see land 3 dual, which is automatic land, and autopilot 1 and 2 is active, flight director 1 and 2 is active, auto throttle is active. That's it. All you have to do is this: just bring the thrust levers to this position once you are 30 feet above the ground, and you see flare over here on the FMA. And once the plane touches the runway, then you activate the reverse thrust. That's it. Now the plane has started to follow the glide slope as well. So now the runway is 11.9 nautical miles away. Soon I will start extending the flaps, and everything is now good. Just keep this checklist over here. Now 10.3 nautical miles away, the runway, and let's set the flaps to position 1. And now you can see the speed will reduce. And if it doesn't reduce, then you can just use the speed brakes. And now you can see the speed has started to reduce now. I have tried the autoline before with this plane, and trust me, when I'm not recording a video, everything goes well. But once I'm recording the video,
2,500.
then there is also an issue with the autoline. So hopefully today, autoline will not mess up the flight. Otherwise, once you take the control in your hand, the autopilot is automatically disconnected. Otherwise, you can also press this button 2 times to deactivate the autopilot. But I just want to show you guys that this plane can carry.
2000.
And now I forgot to set the flaps to position 2. Now 6 nautical miles away, runway, and I can lower the gears. And now you can see this checklist has also started to appear over here. Cabin ready, landing gear down. Yeah, soon. Now you can see this indication is over here for the landing gears. And now I can start extending the flaps to full position. If the gears are down, that's it. And I can set the flaps to full position. And now the plane speed will go up to this point, which is the approach speed. Today the visibility is low, so everything is good. All the lights are on, and you can see the checklist is also complete. So maybe I can just get rid of it, and that's it.
1000.
You can also change the view to this view, LS, and you will see that the plane is aligned with the runway and it's following the glide slope. So it's a good view.
300.
Now you can see land is appearing over here. It means auto land, and soon you will see flare. So once the plane performs a flare, it will pitch up a bit, and then I will just move the thrust levers to idle.
100 minimum.
This is the minimum altitude.
80, 70, 60, 50,
Now
40,
idle.
30, 20, retard, 10, 5,
And touchdown, and I can activate the reverse thrust. Below 80 knots, I can just deactivate the reverse thrust. That's it. And now the auto brakes will come into action, and once I will apply the brakes, the auto brakes will be disarmed. And that's it. Now just give a little bit of throttle. Actually, the brakes are applied by pressing both of these rudder paddles, and autopilot off. I can just get rid of this error, and I can just press check. Okay. Now you can change the view over here to get the airport chart. Just retract the flaps. No longer required. So flaps retracted. The flight simulator hangs a bit once you try to load the airport charts on the navigation display. It happens. Now it's there. You can see that the airport terminal is over here. So that's it. Now I can turn on the APU, because once I will park the plane on the gate, there will be no power when I will switch off the engines till the time I connect the GPU. So I need power, so I can just turn on the APU. I can turn off the landing light. Disarm the ground spoilers, and that's it. Now you can see that the APU is also available. So when I will park, I will turn off the engines and I will still have the power. And then I will connect the GPU. And then the jetway, and then you can just carry out all the ground services, and you can prepare this plane for another flight. I thought we have some empty gates, but as soon as I'm getting closer, yeah, this one is empty. Okay. Although I've turned off the traffic, but every time when I land at an airport, almost the gates are full. I think I have to find a setting how to adjust this. Now I can just stop here, apply the parking brakes, and I can turn off the lights. And now I can turn off the engines. That's it. Now you can turn off the seatbelt signs, the no smoking sign and no mobile sign, and disarm the emergency exit lights, and that's it. Now I can turn off the beacon as the engines are off now. Nav can remain on and logo light can be on. Strobe is automatically set to auto. That's it. Now let's bring the plane to the position in which we got it. Turn off the fuel pumps, and that's it. Now if you go to the ground services, you will see that the GPU is available. You can connect the GPU, and the external power is now available. You can just connect external to an external one, and now the APU is no longer required. You can just turn off the APU. That's it. If you go to the checklist, you can see that landing, yeah, I can just like complete checklist, and let's check this one. Parking. So parking brakes, I've applied the parking brakes. You can also apply the chocks and air conditioning unit. And then you can connect the jetway, luggage and catering. The jetway will be connected. That's it. And the wing lights are off. Yeah, I turned it off. That's it. Now there is another checklist. If you want to just like secure the aircraft, then it's here. And if you want to do a turnaround, then you can just press this option and start, and now you can see the flight plan. It should disappear. Are you sure you want to start the turnaround? Yes, this will clear all the flight related data. Let's start. Data cleared. Yeah, now you can see everything has disappeared, and that's it. Now you can again configure this plane for another flight if you want to do it. I'm planning to do a flight from Riyadh to Qatar and then Qatar to Islamabad. So let's see when I will be able to do it. I'm planning to carry out a live session on my channel. So hopefully this was a useful video for you. Now you will be able to land this plane and carry out a successful flight. If you have got any questions, you can ask me in the comment section, or if you want to add anything to this video, the comment section is there for you. Thank you very much for staying with me. Have a nice day. Hope to see you soon.